All right, so that means that I could have 1,000 meters over 1 kilometer, or I could have 1 kilometer over 1,000 meters. Okay? And so we would choose that based on what we want to cancel, right? Sometimes you cancel from the top across to the bottom. Sometimes you cancel from the bottom across to the top. Okay? Let me give you, so that's a pretty common one, kilometers to meters. Okay? Another example might be that you need to go centimeters to meters. So there are 100 centimeters in one meter. Okay. So that means you could say 1 meter over 100 centimeters, or you could say 100 centimeters over 1 meter. And how you choose which conversion factor depends on what you need. Okay? So these are all metric system things. By the way, that's the same as saying 10 squared centimeters equals 1 meter. Right? Now, some people will have, what's nice about the decimal system is if we know the prefixes, we know what they mean. So I'm going to draw like this stair step thing. I haven't had a lot of success with kids and this. In fact, let me just copy and paste it. I think I had it pulled up here. Let me delete that. I think it's somewhere down here, yeah. No. Oh, that's the wrong. Here it is. Oh, it's taking a second. It does not like that image. Oh, maybe I was copying the wrong image. Maybe I was copying a blink image. Let's try this. Alright, I'm just going to draw it out. So, you could think of this as like a stair step. So at the top, we would have kilo. And that is 10 to the third. And so where I'm getting this from is literally from your notes. give you guys a second. I see some people are still writing this down. So then the next one would be 10 squared, right? Now that would actually be hecto. And so that's a lowercase h. Hecto. And then under that would be deca, which would just be times 10. Sometimes they'll spell it with the K. In the US, though, we spell it with a C. Can somebody get that for me, please? And then this is just 10 to the 0 power, right? So that's just whatever it is. And so this is where we insert our unit. So it could be meters, it could be grams, it could be liters, right? Meters, grams, liters. There's other stuff too. Could be watts, could be joules. So these are all measurements of things. And then if we go in the opposite direction, we would say the next one would be 10 to the negative 1. And that would be deci. Sometimes kids get these two confused. This is 10 to the positive 1, 10 to the negative 1. This is 10 to the negative 2. That's centi. And then we have 10 to the negative 3. And that's milli, which is 1/1000th. So I like to do this, I like to keep all my exponents positive. So we did a couple already. So let me give you an example. If I wanted to do a conversion factor between deca and milli, I would probably go to this step first. So to write it out the way that Mr. Adams writes it out, there's two ways to do it. One is I can find out how many decas I have in whatever unit. So let's say 1 deca meter, that's what the lowercase d is, right? Actually, it's dA. Ugh. So this would be dA. Okay? 1 decameter is equal to 10 meters, or 10 meters is equal to 1 decameter. Well, now that I've got things set up to where I have meters, then I would do the same thing for meters, all right? So if I do the same thing for meters, what would that mean? Well, I'm going to go from meters to millimeters. The problem is 10 to the negative 3 is not fun for some. Me, I don't know. I can do it all day long. I kind of thrive on this stuff. I like doing math and stuff like that. But what I do is I still try to keep it whole numbers. So really what this is saying is, when I look at this right here, this is saying that 1 millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. But I do it backwards. What I do is I say, well, there are 1,000 lowercase m millimeters in 1 meter. Or there's 1 meter in 1,000 millimeters. Okay? So those are two, and I'm only going to do this one example, and then I'll show you a shortcut. The shortcut sometimes confuses people because they go the wrong way. You're basically changing the decimal. You're changing the power of 10. Okay? So let's do one. I'm going to convert 3 decameters to millimeters. Okay? So how do I do that? I'm going to say 3 decameters times a conversion factor times another conversion factor. Well, right away, I know that I have to, I've got to think about, do I want this conversion factor or do I want this conversion factor? And my answer lies in, what do I have up here? Right? I have decameters, so that means I'm going to want decameters down here, because I want to cancel this with this. Well, 1 decameter is equal to 10 meters. So basically, because I need decameters in the bottom, I had to choose this conversion factor. Okay? So now that I have it in meters, the next conversion factor, because what I have up here is meters, I want meters down here, because remember, our goal is to get to millimeters. So that means this time I'm going to have to choose this conversion factor. Why? Because it has meters in the bottom, and I want to cancel the meters with the meters. Okay? So I'm going to say 1,000 millimeters are equal to 1 meter. Again, the meters cancel out. And I multiply this out. So I have 3 times 10 to the first power, and I'm going to write this in scientific notation. Now, what's 1,000 equal to if I write it as 10 to a power? Well, there's 3 zeros here, right? 1, 2, 3. So this is the same as saying 10 to the third power. So on a side note, somewhere off to the side, just say that 10 to the first power is equal to 10, right? 10 to the second power is equal to 100, right? And 10 to the third power is equal to 1,000. So that's what we're kind of doing here, right? Whatever power of 10 you have, that's how many zeros you have. Well, all this stuff is going to be over 1 times 1. So then my final answer is just going to be 3 times 10 to the 4th power millimeters. So what did we start with? We said that 3 decameters is equal to 3 times 10 to the 4th power. Now I'm going to show you a shortcut. This will probably backfire on me, but we'll see how it goes. So we did all that work to get this. Okay? Does everybody have that written down? So one of the things about the stair step is if you're, and this only works if you're just doing the metric system. If you start introducing the British system, which is really the US system, then you still have to do the conversion factors. But another way to do it is go, how many steps did I have to go? So if I look at this staircase, the metric staircase or the metric steps, and I focus on how many steps did I go, for example, I start here and I went down 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. That means I raise the power by 4. And when I say power, I'm talking about of 10, right? So let's put that in there. Of 10 by 4. All right, that's no accident. That will work every time. Because I went down 4 steps. Now, what do you think happens if I go up? Well, if I go up, I would decrease, right? So if whatever number of steps I go up, oops, wrong thing there. We'll do orange. So if I go up steps, so I'm just going to make the number symbol. This is not hashtag. If I go a certain number of steps up, then I would decrease. That's not hashtag. This symbol represents a number. I would decrease by that number. I would decrease the power of 10 by that number. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit of a shortcut, but this only works if you just do the metric system. Okay? This only works if you stick to the metric system. If the minute I say miles and you convert it to meters, you got to do the conversion thing. So today's assignment is only on the metric system. Okay? It's only on the metric system. This is all we're going to do. Okay, do you guys have that written down? Okay. So this might be helpful. So if I give you a problem and I say how many microliters, and let's write a couple more common things. Squeeze this in there somewhere. And I'm just going to write down a couple of examples. This is micro. So micro means 10 to the negative 6. So this is 10 to the 6 is equal to, I put the wrong thing, don't draw an arrow, draw the equal to sign, is equal to 1 liter. Okay? So I can make 2 conversion factors. 1 liter is equal to, remember 10 to the 6 is 6 zeros after the 1. So that's 1 million microliters. Or 1 million microliters are equal to 1 liter. Now you could put meters instead of liters. You could put grams. Those numbers are true. And the last one is 10 to the 9 nanometers is equal to 1 meter. Now I'm not going to write out 9 zeros, so I'm just going to say 10 to the 9 nanometers. I know my 9 looks like an A, that's the number 9, is equal to 1 meter, or 1 meter is equal to 10 to the 9 nanometers. Okay? Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. That's basically it for today's notes. I'll give you the